What is the number one cause of chronic illness? It's normal whenever you get diagnosed or you start having symptoms and you start Googling and you're like, what do I have? What causes numbness? And then you think then you think you're dying, basically. By the time you get done with that session of Googling until 2 in the morning, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna die. But I can't believe I've never seen this study before. I just came across a study. I don't know. I mean, it's like on PubMed, it's on all the credible sources. And it says that according to research, 80 to 90% of chronic illness is stress related. And I knew that already based on my own research. When I say my own research, like I've literally talked to thousands of people the past couple of years that have chronic illness, maybe not in depth, but enough. And I've been active in different, Facebook groups and stuff like that. And every once in a while, I'll throw out the question on my page or in a group, what causes your flare-ups? What causes your relapses? What makes your symptoms worse? People never say, okay, not never. Every once in a while, they say gluten, dairy. If I go out with the girls and drink a little wine, my pain gets worse. So like there are those, or someone might say cold weather changes. But most, 80 to 90%, probably 95% of people always comment something around stress. And there's so much, you always hear manage your stress and all that. But it's like people are always shoving in your face, oh, have you changed your diet? Have you changed your diet? And yeah, that helps. Like it helps to not eat stuff that causes inflammation. And, so much of our emotions are tied to our gut. Like all of that's true. But it's the stress that is 90% of the issue. And that's proven by everyone I talk to. And like, what is the number one thing that people stress out about? I'm curious to see if people answer that. Based on these same conversations I've had, there's lots of things we can be stressed out about. But the number one thing that seems to trigger people's stress response and cause symptoms, cause the initial onset of an illness, relapses, are relationships. It's like so many people I've talked to, you back up to the beginning and you find that their illness kind of started when they were having marital problems or going through a divorce, or their daughter was having substance abuse problems, or their mother got sick, or their mom, having issues with their mom or whatever. It's like, or with their boss, like maybe it's a client, like, but that client's really stressing you out, or your boss is really stressing you out. It's like these relationships we have, like those become the most stressful things. And so it's like, chronic illness isn't contagious, but you can catch it from another person. You can catch it from a relationship that is causing you to constantly be in the stress response. When it comes to stress, to speak simply about it, I would describe stress as two things. The first is I saw the equation one time where stress equals resources less than, the less than sign, less than demand. I mean, that's so simple. It's like when your demands of you and your life are more than your resources being empathy, compassion, finances, energy, love, time. These are resources that I'm talking about. And when you're in positions where what's being demanded of you by others and by yourself or by your job or by your family is greater than the resources you have to give it, you feel stress. You feel squeezed. And again, stress equals 80 to 90% of the root cause of chronic illness, according to research and science on websites like PubMed. Real stuff, not a blog. So if stress is the root cause here, and relationships are the number one cause of stress, but looking at that equation of resources versus demand, to manage stress, you either increase your resources to meet the demand or you lower your demand. And I'm not saying that that's not a more complex, hard situation. And I'm sure if you were sitting with me and told me all the reasons you can't do that, I would have a lot of compassion and empathy. But that's how you manage stress. The other way, okay, the other thing that causes stress, the stress response happens, it's triggered when we perceive danger. Sometimes we're actually in danger. Other times we perceive ourselves to be in danger. And if you think of that equation, resources to demands, when we feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough to meet these things I want to do, these things I love to do, these things I have to do, then that feels dangerous. Because if you don't meet those demands, all of a sudden you feel stressed. But, how do I pay the rent? How can I be a good wife or husband? How can I be a good mother? And those feel dangerous because it feels like a loss of love or a loss of sense of self or a loss of contribution, a loss of happiness, and that's dangerous, right? So it kind of still goes back to, at the end of the day, stress is when we see a perceived threat to our happiness and well-being. So think about the irony of that. Stress is the number one threat of chronic illness. But what we perceive as dangerous causes stress. So what we perceive as danger causes our chronic illness. Right? So that I think another way to manage stress is to accept your threats. Because when you can accept your fears, accept your threats, accept the world as it is, accept people as they are, accept your health as it is, accept your circumstances and situation as they are, you don't feel like they're a threat and you don't fear them. So if you can visit your chronic fears, because fear is an emotion that's not meant to be chronic. Fear is a fight or flight. Fear is a temporary, transient emotion to get us out of danger into safety. But if you're always afraid of something, that really needs to be visited. Because if you can accept it or tackle it or overcome it or put a plan in place that minimizes that fear, speak to the fear, don't hide from it. If you can just somehow lower the threat of that person, situation, job, illness, place, thing, whatever, if you can lower your perceived threat and fear of it, you lower your stress, you lower your physical inflammation, you lower your chances of chronic illness, relapses, and pain. Good luck. And it's hard to, we do see the people we love the most as threats sometimes, as perceived danger. They're going to hurt me. This is going to hurt. And I'm afraid of that. I'm angry at that. Leaning into compassion. That's a whole different video. The point of this video is what's the number one cause of illness? So I'll save that for another video, another time. But at least bringing that awareness of, wow, I'm lowering my resources by expending energy that I don't have enough of on fear and anxiety and making someone wrong, making something wrong, judging that. I'm expending some of my resources I need to meet my demands, and I'm causing this stress response by this perceived threat and fear. If I can just accept, I'll feel less fear, and I'll be a healthier person physically. Much love. See you. Bye-bye.